Should I call you Tori? Is Tori all good?
Tori's great. I my legal name is Victoria.
Yeah.
I guess like my legal stage name would be Tori,
Mhm.
but for some reason on Julie and the Phantoms, I told them my name is Tori and like everybody addressed me as Tori, but on all of my contracts it was Victoria. And then when they put the credits on the screen, it ended up being Victoria, even though I was like, my name is Tori. So
Mm.
we're just rolling with it. One day I'll become a producer, director, and I'll go by Victoria because I feel like that's more official. But for now, it's Tori.
It does seem weird though. Like I get that like in contract and stuff, they use your legal, name on your
Right.
passports and shit. But like in the credits, they should also use your legal name as well because they do that with like songwriters as well. Like where you have your moniker, your stage name, but like when they credit you as a songwriter, they have to use your legal name. So that is a bit weird that they use. Oh no no no. Oh wait no no no. In the credits, they should use your stage name.
Yeah, they should use my state
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like, you're part of the cast and you're part of the production team, so, uh, eh, uh,
as always. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
usually ask and they're like, "What do you want to go by?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, Tori." But I told them, and then I don't know what happened. But it's okay. It's a happy accident. And now every time, it's funny. After the show, we went right to not after right after the show, but we went to Carolyn and Jeremy's wedding.
Mhm.
And
Who's Karen and Jeremy? Is it
oh,
just your friend?
sorry, Jeremy is a he's an actor on Doing the Phantoms,
Oh,
and
sure, sure.
him and his fiance got married.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was great. The first thing that I learned about Jeremy was that he was going to propose to his girlfriend. Like that was like the first thing non-work related out of his mouth, and I was like, sick. That's
Yeah,
cool. I'm all for that. Go you
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
But I introduced myself as Victoria at their wedding, and so now all of their family is like, "Hi, Victoria,"
So you
knowing that
got,
I
like,
don't.
6 names
Yeah, it's
depending
great.
on this. That's great. That's cool as well. Yeah. Uh Yeah, I had a couple of names growing up because I'm Asian and I grew up in Korea. So like in Korea, people just you just get to choose your English name, you know? You just get to choose it. Yeah, it could be you can be named Jisoo and you can just choose your English name to be like Alex, you know? It's just gonna be like as random as possible. So I was like once a Judy. I was once a
Beauty.
yeah, I was a Judy, and I was a Sue-in, which is my full name in Korea at one point. I think it
Yeah.
was like Jane at one point as well, and I was obsessed with this name, like Rubina at one point as
You
well. Yeah, that was
know,
like yeah, that's like a super fancy name that does not suit my face at all. And this was like, mind you, this was me when I was a little kid. So I was like, I had this like one of these princess fantasies and stuff. So I'm like, I'm
right.
Rubina the princess, you know? Um,
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna call you Sabina from now on.
Rubina. Um, but are you based in LA right now?
I am based in LA. Hometown is San Diego. I
Cool.
work in Vancouver a lot. Everybody thinks I'm Canadian. I'm not. I'm
Is it
based in LA.
is it because of your accent, maybe?
Maybe, or maybe it's just because I'm always out there. But I'm
Uh,
hoping people know that I'm in LA or I'm supposed to be in LA. It'd be nice
yeah.
to work at home.
I mean, your wetsuit behind kind of is a bit of an indication that do you go, like, surfing a lot?
I go surfing a lot. This is actually Charlie's place.
Oh.
I
So that's not your wetsuit.
no, it's
Okay, okay,
definitely
okay.
Charlie's.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't go surfing in California water. I am too much of a chicken because it's too cold.
Oh, I see. I don't know. Is it cold? Like,
Oh my
super
god,
cold?
freezing. It's
Okay.
freezing. I mean, I love California. I grew up in San Diego, but man, our water is cold. It's like you'd think, oh, it's the beach, like it's warm. We're gonna go and have a good time, and then you jump in the water and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in Antarctica.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I hate I hate being I love the beach. I love, like, being by the coast. but I hate being in the coast waters. I hate dipping myself in seawater. I hate it. I don't know for some reason.
Just just 'cause.
It just tastes weird.
I mean, it is
I
salty.
mean, it's the biggest toilet in the world.
It is. It really is, especially because all of our sewage goes into the ocean.
Yeah, and also there are people who probably poop like and pee in it while they're
Fair
there.
enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like
And that just never leaves my mind whenever I have the occasion to go inside the go
now I'm
into the
thinking
beach.
about
Now that will never leave your head either.
See, I'm gonna say this stuff to Charlie later when he wants to go into the water and he's like, so and I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true as well. Like, oh, it's mother nature. Everything in this world is a toilet if you think about it. It's all part of the nature, the poop, the pee, the
Oh,
the secretion, but also it's poop. So,
right.
and also I am terrified. I have this thing called I'm pretty sure I have this thing called Phasmophobia? That might be the title of a game actually. But there is a phobia of deep waters. And
I mean,
um
there's a phobia for everything nowadays.
there's probably phobia for like toilet rolls or whatever. But like there's a legit like phobia for like deep waters, and it's like that notion of you don't know what's deep inside there, and you always feel like, you feel like something's watching from like the bottom of the sea or whatever.
I mean, it
And
probably is not gonna lie because we don't know anything. We know more about outer space than we do about our ocean.
yeah, that always freaked me out. Like the deep sea always freaked the hell out of me. It is freaking fascinating, but it really does freak me out. Like you don't know what's gonna be down there, and you probably don't want to confront any one of them in your life.
Yeah.
You probably can't.
No, that's that doesn't sound like a fun time.
No, no, no. I do you have you ever I'm sure you have, but have you ever been inside like a lake? Like
Yeah.
a Swanman
Yeah.
Lake? Yeah, I've only done that once in my life, and I will never do it again. It was a
Okay.
terrifying experience.
I just feel like you can't see much. Like I grew up going
Exactly. That's what I
right.
mean.
Like you just don't know what's there. I
Yes.
don't know. I sound and then like things are around your feet. I just, yeah.
Oh
Okay,
my
I
god.
trust the ocean more than I trust the lake.
You trust the ocean more than you trust the lake.
Yeah, because I mean, I grew up going to the beach in Hawaii
Yeah.
because like I have family there and my dad lived there for a while, and like the waters are clear so you can see things, but I feel like in lakes they're just really murky
Mm. And
and
it
you just
just feels more
don't.
ominous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
I
hear
know
about
what
like
you
dead
mean.
bodies in lakes and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with you. Like that was exactly why I found swimming in the lake so terrifying. So that particular experience was me taking a little swim test prior to a kayak trip.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, they were like, oh, you have to like, do the basic treading and all that stuff before, just as a precaution, just in case we make sure that we know that you can swim and stuff before we go on the kayaking trip. So I was like, yeah, of course. And I was like, it was my first time swimming in the lake and I had no idea what to expect. So I was like in full gear. I had my swimming goggles on
Wow.
and I had the full on like that, the one of those like swimming
This
hats.
was caps.
Yeah, yeah, the swimming caps. It was like I was in full gear, ready to like go to the Olympics and just like compete like crazy.
Oh my
And
god.
I think the biggest mistake was that I was wearing the goggles when I was taking the exam because first of all, it was my first time treading, which I was pretty confident at, and that confidence was just dissipated like the second I
Ooh,
went into the water. Yeah, for sure. Because I just started sinking right into it.
no.
And then, when you sink, you're wearing your swimming goggles so you can see everything, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. You can see nothing but brown water and your feet, your own feet, just like trying to just your desperation in your body. It was terrifying because like it just felt like something was about to like jump at me at any moment.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so I obviously failed the exam. I didn't get to go kayaking that day. It was a
I'm
very
so
sad day.
sorry.
Yeah, that was a very sad day. Um, and I just miserably walked back to my cabin like with my gear on and
Oh,
I'm all worn out and really sad because I was really looking forward to the kayaking trip.
yeah, I would have been too. That sounds like it sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about dancing a bit and your kind of career side of things if you don't mind. Um,
Yeah.
so first and foremost, while I was researching about you, and of course, aside from getting a massive girl crush on like, watching all your dance videos, um, I discovered that you have a background in competitive dancing. And I kind of wanted to talk about that because uh, I just don't know what it's like to be a dancer in a competitive world, if it's, like, any different from, the side of the industry where you're more of a creative like, a co-creator alongside a production team, and so you're creating all together, it's a teamwork, as opposed to, like, in a competitive world, if it's anything different, if it's a bit more intense, if there's an element that makes it less enjoyable or more enjoyable. Um, if that's the case, just wanna know what the general experience was like for you during those periods.
Um, they're very similar in some aspects, like the industry world and competition. But it's pretty different because there's like a set season. It's almost like sports. You have your like off season where you're just training and getting numbers ready and like getting your solos done. And then there's the season where you go and compete. I forget what the actual season is. I think we start in like mid January, finish January, February, March, May, January, February, March, April, May, June. We finish like in May, and then we have nationals June, July, and then we have like
Ah,
and you would like learn all your numbers and then practice them, clean them, and then depending on which conventions or competitions your studio would go to, usually there's like 2 or 3 within those months. But growing up as a competition kid, I followed around the different conventions that I wanted to be a part of for like every single weekend of that quote unquote season. Um, so it was pretty intense. I remember like going to school and then training after school, and then on Fridays we would leave early so that we can fly to wherever, and then you dance from 8 a.m. to midnight,
oh,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you go back home and do it all over again.
yeah. And what do you think it was that really, like, drove almost that obsession with that, strict schedule? What do you think?
Um, I mean, personally, I'm somebody who works loves to work hard to get good at something, and I think
Mm,
in the beginning I wasn't naturally good at convention and uh, just dance in general, and so I wanted to keep going, and my mom and dad were thankfully very supportive of it. So
yeah.
they're like, yeah, we'll bring you and let you get to know these choreographers who are working in the industry, and they're the greatest teachers. And you're gonna learn a bunch of different things and go to a bunch of different cities and make sure that they know your face. And I think with that, a lot of other kids, oh, not a lot, like a handful of other kids would follow around the conventions as well. And so it'd be like hanging out with your friends over the weekend. So building that family. And I think it was super cool having friends in different states because we
Mm,
would meet up. But yeah, I think that's what I became obsessed with. Uh, I think it's very similar to the industry, as in a lot of the skills that I use now on set, creating, like being part of the creation process. I would always have to, at conventions, I would always have to reblock numbers, or re-choreograph sections if a dancer got injured or something. So helping assist with that has helped me transition into the industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems it's from what I hear, it sounds a lot more supportive and a lot more family and, family like than I thought it would be. Cause the very term competitive dance world, it just has that ring of like, beef, like I gotta win, kind of thing.
I mean, there's definitely 100% like an element to that, and it got pretty cutthroat.
Uh-huh.
Because for some of these things, there's like only obviously one first place winner, and for a lot of people that meant like the world because they're investing so much money into it. But I think it's a bit of healthy competition and also the balance of finding the right people to hang out with because I knew
Sure.
people that kind of like sabotage other people, which wasn't the most fun to be around. And I was very much the type of person that was like, okay, I'm just gonna like do my best, obviously compete with myself, but if they're supposed to win, they're supposed to win, kind of thing.
Mm.
And that's like my sister, so heck yeah, I want her to win, you know?
Wow. I
There
really
was definitely, like, scary people, though.
like, oh, like, oh, so you're not getting past me, bitch, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there was one my last year doing convention competition. We, were competing for, like, Dancer of the Year at nationals,
Yeah.
and we had to learn a Brian Friedman combo on the stage and then perform it in front of all the judges and get
Yeah.
scored and whatever. And so we did the combo and then we were like freestyling after. It's I think three of us on stage. And this girl like kept getting in front of me and I was like, okay, we have windows for a reason. I know you're like trying to show off or whatever, but like, yo,
Mhm.
I need to be seen too. And so she like kept getting in front of me and in front of me. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hop off the stage and dance in front of the judges table. Like,
Oh, hell yeah. Go, girl. Yeah, do it. Get on that table and shake it. Shake it off. That's awesome. Yeah,
exactly.
that's a great move. That's actually I didn't even think of that. That's awesome. I would just cry. What happened after that? Like, did you have beef with her afterwards, or was it just kind of like, oh, it was just, in the moment kind of thing, and then afterwards it's
It was
gone?
in a moment, and I don't even know if she was consciously doing it.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I felt good about my performance, so I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna fight with you. I felt good, so whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. Wow. Oh, wow. I don't Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, so the only sort of competition experience that I have is, um like, in the realm of, like, education and, like, exams and shit in Korea. So, I was brought up in Korea, like I told you earlier, and the way the school system works is, um I don't know if there's, like, an equivalent term in English, but, um there's the relative way of marking your grades, and there's the objective, I don't way
Right.
of marking
Yeah.
it. So it's like the former is like there's only so much A's to go around for people, and the latter is
Okay.
like there's enough A's to go around for everyone. Everyone can get A's if they just get the right marks on their exams.
So you would have to compete for your A.
It was the former for me in Korea. So it's like everybody's competing for the first place. Everybody's competing for the mark. And it's brutal because it means no matter
What you get
how
right
well you do, yeah, no matter how many answers you get right, it means if there's someone who just
has
excels
more
in
right.
everything else much better than you do, then you're down there, And that was brutal for me. That was brutal,
What?
and it's a concept that I never personally got because it's like, what's the point of studying these exams? It's to get these informations right and to get these informations in my head. So I've shown the fact that I've got these informations indeed in my head, and I've shown that in the grades. So why am I not getting the grades that I think that I deserve? because somebody else did better in another exam, and it's like that all feeds into the other grades, and it's like it's all like relative, and it just really I think it creates a very unnecessary, know
Competition.
yeah, toxic competition, and there's beef, and there's like, people are
Uh,
always like, all that's standard. I'm sure all schools have it in all countries and all cultures, but that whole notion of like, "Oh, did you study for your exams yesterday?" And like, "Oh, no, I didn't." But like you know that they did, you know?
right.
It's like,
Weird.
Oh, I just, like, had dinner and went to bed right after yesterday." And that's, like, the night before the exam, and you know that they were staying up late to study. It's
And
like,
that's one way to get kids to work hard. Jeez.
yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal, but it does work, it shows through the sheer intensity of, how smart Korean kids are nowadays. I think it scares me. It really scares me. Um, Obviously I wasn't part of that group. I just did not excel in school that much. I did not enjoy school either. It just, after the point of middle school, it just got too educational, and they took out PE, which I was like, "No, I want to play dodgeball,
That's
please."
so funny.
Yeah, I did not understand why they would take away PE from me.
I would have loved that. I luckily I had like injuries from dance where I didn't have to run in PE and my PE teachers loved me. So I'd be like, oh, my tendonitis in my patella tendon is flaring up. Like, can I just get an A for this? And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, we know you
Oh.
exercise outside of class. Like, it's totally fine. We just do this class so that we get kids active.
Yeah. I mean, you were probably already way too active to, stack that PE class on top of that anyways, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
just running. Running was not my favorite
Oh,
thing.
no, me neither. I don't like running either. It's more like the recreational part of PE that I like more than like the measures and like, oh, like 100-meter runs, like who runs the fastest kind of thing. Um, but
Yeah. I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
very good at sports either. I tried really hard, but I like the more of the like analytics of sports
yeah.
and
Mm,
like watching them and understanding the game rather than like playing them. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll play like volleyball or soccer or whatever, but like when I want to do something, I want to do something like really well,
sure.
and I don't have enough time to like physically put effort into other sports other than like dance and all of the things that I want to do for work. And so I think, and that's always been the case my whole life. So like when it came time for high school and middle school, like to do sports, I just wanted to be good. And because I wasn't good at it and I didn't have the time to get good at it, I was like, I'm gonna pass on this for a second. Like maybe I'll get good at it later. We can do it later. But
Sure, sure. And it's already it's probably dance was already taking up too much time of your life. And I can say from experience for sure, if you're trying to get better and good at one field, that takes your life.
yeah,
That takes most of your day. Like, take out eating and sleeping and washing your face and whatever the basic stuff. That the rest of it is just that,
yeah,
and you can't do anything else. Like, that's the thing that I find with, like, dating. Like, I find fascinating when people can work and seem to be able to pull off dating as well, like relationships, because
yeah.
that shit is completely different thing
That's
that
so hard.
requires how? It's a
Like,
superpower. It's a superpower.
yeah, and I mean, I'm even trying to balance like spending time with family and then
Exactly.
work. And you also have to be responsible and like considerate of somebody else's feelings, like outside of just your family, and make sure that you go and support their things so that they can come and support your things. But there's not enough hours in the day. There's zero.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, to see people, like, making boyfriends and girlfriends and, like, partners in the midst of all that is like, "Whoa, you're something else." Like, how do you do that, you know? Um,
Hands down to you. Hands down to you.
yeah. I do feel you on that, like, not not having that pull towards pull for, like, specific areas of physical activity though, because like you can one might assume that because you're a dancer, you're a very active person, so you must like all these other physical activities like running and, I don't know, lifting weights and jump roping and, all these, I don't know, boxing, whatever.
Yeah,
But it's a different field, you know what I mean? Like, it's different. So
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love like boxing is super fun.
mm.
I like train and tumbling, and I want to do more martial arts.
Oh, hell yeah.
But like anything that has to do with hand-eye coordination or like playing sports like baseball and basketball
Like
and
ball sports.
all sports.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, ball never stays with me. It just all like, yeah, the ball never stays with me for
Like
some
I
reason.
can control my body. I can't control
Yeah.
something else. That just doesn't go well.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, I think I can manage pucks, like with hockey.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do like ice hockey, which I would love to get back into someday.
See,
Yeah, ice skating is fun, that's the thing. Like, it's fun.
I
So
can't.
maybe pucks, but pucks, I don't know. Are pucks balls technically? I don't know. But when it comes to like round objects, keeping the round objects too close to my body as much as possible, that's a no go. Like, nope, I can't.
Yeah. Not it's okay. Some people are born with it, some people aren't, and we're the ones that are not.
No. They used to teach dance in Korea as well for me. Like, that was part of the curriculum in my school.
Was it like a class or was it like a section of your PE?
It was a class. We had a section in the schedule of the day, dance. And, it's so funny. And maybe I think this is quite reflective of what the educational system is like in Korea, but most of it was theory. And I remember, like, I remember wanting to actually dance, actually do dancing more in a dance class, which just seems to make more sense, um, but I remember the dance teacher was vicious, first of all. She was just so brutal, and she made us, like, draw these, like, little figures, like, these little stick figures, of all the routines that we learned in class, and I remember I got told off because I forgot to draw a skirt to the stick figures. She's like, "You did not draw the skirt in, so you are getting a C."
What?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I was so upset.
Wait, okay, I'm like trying to wrap my mind around drawing like the dance. What?
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, draw the dance first of all." That was like, "Why? Can I just show you?" I think I
I'm
got it in my they were like
That's interesting to me. I'm like mind blown right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Because
then getting mad at you for the skirt?
yeah,
What?
I did like, I wanted to show
Stick figure.
the
Wow,
It's ridiculous.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I got a C in dance class for that reason.
Wow. Wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. It was
We
really
had
great.
dance class in art, like it was optional. You could either choose PE or dance
Mm,
in high school, and people would choose dance because they thought it was easy. And then my high school, luckily for me, um, a lot of industry dancers have come out of my high school, and so
sure.
it's very industry forward. Um, and man, my the head of the dance department at our school, um, she was pretty hard on all the dancers, like the people that would choose dance over PE.
Sure.
Yikes.
You
People
didn't
that
choose
would
dance, I'm
yeah.
assuming.
Sorry.
You didn't choose dance, I'm assuming, in your class.
Um, I well, the first year you have to take PE, and then the second year, I think I chose a separate elective other than a physical activity because it wasn't needed anymore.
Right.
So honestly, I can't remember. I was barely at high school. I like would leave all the time to go train in LA or work or do something. And luckily, my friend's dad, Mr. Hughes, literally would just like sign all of my things to let me go. And then when
Oh,
Hughes
sweet.
left,
Yeah.
um, the other person was like, "You're not really allowed to just like leave school." So I went on to online school after that, but I don't really
Yeah.
remember a lot from like actual high school.
Yeah, yeah, because you were away so much probably. That's
Yeah,
cool. That's like the dream life, man. High school is not fun. At least it wasn't for me. Um,
it sounded very competitive.
yeah, it's just not fun. A lot of studying. I hate studying. I hate
Mm.
it. Just hate it. Um, hate it. I hate studying. I hate exams.
Like just for school subjects or like just in general?
I think it's like the desk work, if you will, the desk exams.
Yeah,
If you think about it, everything is in exams if you think about it, like,
right.
think
Yeah,
about performing, think about making a song, think about perfecting a routine for you, that could
yeah.
be considered an exam, right? Because you're evaluated in some
That's
form or
your
another as
skills.
yeah, as for your skills, but I think it's more like getting information in my head and writing answers down on a piece of paper. I think those kind of realms I don't flourish in, you know? It's boring.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I feel like I learn more from experience than reading words on, unless like we're having a discussion about it, because that's a nice way to retain information. But like staring at books and being like, okay, this is this, my brain's like, all right, cool, we're just not gonna remember that. Okay, cool.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, like, and obviously if you're like a med student or something who needs those kind of crucial informations in your head, you do have
Right.
to like do some study probably, but like I think
Even
in
then, I feel like
general.
it's nice to discuss, and then that's how it like sticks. And I don't know.
Yes. And also there are different forms of getting information stuck in your head, like I've been watching a lot of documentaries recently. I've been obsessed with them. And it's just such an interesting form of medium. Like it sticks. Like the stuff that you
Yeah,
see on in documentaries if they're good, it sticks. And it just sticks without you trying to actively like get that information like memorize,
right.
memorize, memorize in your head. It's such a fun form of studying in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I have a interesting opinion about documentaries. I love documentaries. They're great. But I always feel like I need to do like my own research outside of it just because with
Mhm.
any filmmaking or anything really that you read, even through books, you're reading somebody else's narrative on it
Ah,
and you're like absorbing their opinions on it, if that makes
yeah.
sense. And I feel like I would want my own opinions on these things. I don't know.
I think
Not
that's
like brainwashing or anything, but like you learn from what you watch, and I feel like I would want my own opinion on these
I think that's a definitely valid approach for sure. But in that sense, I feel like if I started to think about every form of education in that way, I feel like I
things.
would start to get a little bit paranoid because in that sense, everything is
The sun is
subjective.
hot.
Like like if a teacher tells you like, "Oh, this is the math equation and this is the answer." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's coming from you. I don't know if you would be lying about this or not." So I'm just going to fact check before I, confirm if it's like real or not.
Yeah.
But
I
I think that's definitely a valid approach. I never really thought about it. I just watched the documentary and was like, "Hey," and I'm super gullible as well, so I'm like, "Hell, that's a vicious man." I've been watching a documentary series about Jeffrey Epstein, and it's like,
mm,
yeah, it's like sexual predator and all that. I'm like, my goodness, he's vicious. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I think that's definitely valid approach. I do want to take a bit of a different turn and come back to dancing a little bit because I'm just so curious. Um,
Yeah.
so also doing the research, I in an article that I read about you, I read something really interesting and wanted to kind of pick your brain on about that. You said being in the dance world means that you're always kind of being told what's right or wrong, being judged by your body shape, um, just being judged always. And I guess that is true for pretty much all professions and fields of expertise. But I
Mhm.
can assume that with the dance world, it can be a lot more intense than other fields. So I wanted to ask you if having been part of this world for many, many years now, if there's any sort of like protocols for you, any sort of specific mindset or headspace that you get yourself into whenever you face these judgments. I mean, they're good. If they're constructive criticism, they're great.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
you got to have that skill set to be able to distinguish between a
Yeah.
criticism and like just straight up insult, you
I
know?
mean, okay, growing up in the dance world, I think I crave constructive criticism because I want somebody to give me an honest answer about how I look or how I'm doing things or how they feel about how I'm doing things. Not that I care about that, but like it's nice to get feedback. And even in like Zoom workouts, if the like person that's leading them doesn't be like, oh Tori, fix your hips on this or like
Mm,
or that was good or whatever. I'm like, am I doing this right? Like, does the person care? Um, but as far as feeling disposable in the dance world, because that's how I feel like dancers are in the acting world. I found that it's very different because if the role is just not for you, like there's so many roles that have come out that I'm like, oh, I'd be perfect for this. I'd be perfect for this. And then I come out and see the movie after it's been made and I wasn't cast. I'm like, oh, I totally 100% understand why they went with this
mm,
character and this person because this person matches this character so well and is made for that person. But with dance, not that anybody can do what you can do because there's ways to make yourself undeniable in some sort of way to like have special things sprinkled on top. But dancers aren't necessarily the main focus of any project
right.
unless you're in a company or yeah, unless you're in a company um, or it's a dance show. But like usually we're kind of the background or to bring energy in. And the main focus is the actor, the talent, whoever. So as long as somebody can do the choreography, you can be replaced. If you don't fit the costume, there's another dancer on call that is available and would love to take your spot.
Oh,
That's why I felt very I think that's why the dance world is so competitive
right.
because it's not that, oh, this job just like wasn't meant for you. It was, yeah, I mean, there was a girl who looks exactly like you, has your same build, has your same credentials, but she can also do something on top of what you can do, kind of.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
intense. That is
Yeah.
oh,
But to get myself out of that and like not super stressed about it, I just remember everything happens for a reason. And I use this example all the time. I thought I was going to book the Janet Jackson World Tour when she was first coming back. And it was down to like four of us. They cut two people. We're discussing me and this other girl, and then asked me and this other girl to call back the other two, and then they cut us and went with the other two girls. And I was like, oh my god, I'm awful. They didn't like me enough. I'm gonna like my dance career is over. I was like 13. My dance career is over. This could have been my big thing. And then because I didn't get that, I got introduced into the TV and film world. And I'm not that I wouldn't be happy doing live stuff because I would still love to do it, but like opened up all these other opportunities that have led to what I want to do now. So everything happens for a reason.
everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, like, nobody knows. I always tell myself, like, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. They don't know. They don't I don't care if you're 13, I don't care if you're 35, I don't care if you're 60. we all don't know what the fuck we're doing in this life. We don't even
Yeah,
know. We haven't even yet found out what happens after we die. Nobody
right.
knows.
Nobody knows.
And I think we tend to forget that. We tend to forget that when somebody who seems to be a bit more in a superior position from you says, "Oh, I don't like that part about your work. I don't like that part about your body." It seems like that's legit. What they're saying is true, and I am faulty. And it's
Yeah,
like it's so easy to fall into that trap, you know?
so
And
easy.
it's and I try to remind myself that, if you don't like me, then fine. I'm pretty self-sufficient. I can do my shit all on my own. If you don't like this, then I hope you regret in the
People
future
around you.
because I'm running right now. I'm running.
Exactly. Exactly. And my thought on that is everybody's gonna have an opinion no matter what. And like you can't please everybody. So might as well just please yourself because you're stuck with yourself, you know?
Yeah, and it's like it's obviously easier said than done. I have issues with self-confidence. I have issues with, being too self-aware, and it's, like I'm far from being like a power girl with
Or
myself,
worse.
you know? But when I'm having a conversation like this with someone like you, it's empowering because it's kind of like we have this mutual understanding of knowing what being judged feels like.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, hey, we can do this, we can do this, and this thing called juice kind of flows for a while, and then this confidence juice, and then it runs out, and then we have conversations like these again, and the juice refuels
Feel-
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
I
that's
love that.
yeah, I really like that about, just meeting people and being honest about things, like, just opening about our vulnerabilities and like, because we don't wanna admit that we
Right.
feel less than. We don't wanna admit
We don't want to
feeling
talk about our bad days and how we feel when we're not happy. And Charlie said this to me earlier. Somebody, I forget what they did. I think they cut me off or something. And oh no, Jaheim hung up on me as I was talking to him. And I was
oh,
like,
no.
really? And he goes, oh my gosh, you're so salty. And I'm like, yeah, I am. He cut me off as I was talking. He goes, I never get to see this side of Tori. She's always so like happy and put out. I'm like, but I have all the emotions. Everybody has all the emotions. And I guess like you forget sometimes when you're like trying to, it's like with Charlie, he's always like so happy. And so like you feel like you don't the need to, but like you feel super happy around him, and then you forget all the like things. I don't know. It was just like really weird for him to say that to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I've never showed you me being down, and I don't like to show people me being down, if that makes sense.
For
Like
sure,
people have it, and I don't know, just the understanding that everybody kind of goes through the same thing,
for sure,
and you talking about how like you don't want to like show people the vulnerability. I don't know, this is this whole understanding about everybody going through the same thing. And that's what I also remember when people are judging me. I'm like, okay, well, they probably feel judged about the same thing. And that's why they are
for
judging me on
sure.
it, you know?
Yes. Yeah, and they just don't wanna admit it, so they just put it out on somebody else and
Yeah,
think they can just cover it up, cover their own insecurities
yeah.
up, you know?
Or something made them feel self conscious about it. So now they're hyper aware about it. So they point it out on other people.
Mm.
Just never know.
Yeah,
Never.
and I almost feel like this level of sympathy for those kind of people because it's almost like they will never get this satisfaction that we kind of have right now, where we talk about, I hate that I got this massive acne in the middle of my face the other day, or like, I feel disgusting. I feel like a potato sack today. And do because I'm on my period today. Sorry
Oh,
to TMI, but
no,
like,
I'm period talk. I
but
make you
it's
feel uncomfortable. I'm not sorry. I am not sorry.
yeah. And it's like and it's so amazing because the thing about opening up about your vulnerabilities is the more you do it, the more of a no-brainer it becomes. It's like so natural and you also have to be careful not to be like whiny all the time, of course. And I'm still
Right.
trying to figure out whether what is even defined as being whiny. So that's a fine line, but I think in general, it becomes this healthy thing where you become more honest and more just open about things, and it becomes this, like, really cathartic experience of you just let it out. It's like daily
Yeah.
therapy almost.
Yeah, and I think the more that you talk about it, the less power it holds.
Oh, yeah.
Also, if you're, let's say you're insecure about the way that your nose looks, and,
Mm.
like, the more that you talk about it, the less you hold it in and, like, it builds up in a way. I don't know, just letting it go is easier said than done. So much easier said than done. But the more that you have conversations and have understanding about how other people relate to it or don't relate to it or have different views about it, just opening up a discussion lets go of all the power of like all of these things that you're hammering into your brain because you hear other perspectives and you're like,
Mm.
okay, I'm not alone, kind of thing.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know, talking is cool.
Talking's really cool. I like talking. Talking's really nice. Talk
Yeah,
it is, and it's like it's rare, I think. It's rare that and I think that's why that's the cause behind the rise of podcasts, like, why
yeah,
people are drawn to these kind of long format conversations because we like nosing into other people what other people think about stuff, like random stuff, and, just, like, feel more human, like, I love seeing people that I'm a fan of being human.
yeah. And I think that's so important. And this is the second podcast that I've done where it's not like a I'm gonna sit here and interview you
Mm,
kind of thing. And I really, really enjoy that because with social media, there's this whole facade and I try my best to show every part of my life and not just like, okay, here I am posed. But
and
like
really edgy caption,
really edgy caption.
punchline.
I'm super clever and
I know the
I'm
shit.
very
I'm
well
edgy as fuck. Hell
connected.
yeah.
I mean, like, you gotta show off when you can, and
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I have this really great caption for this, so I'm gonna post it. But I just think that with social media, everybody has these like super high standards for things, and then they talk to people in person and they realize, oh, like you're so different from social media. I personally don't like that. Somebody said to me the other day, they're like, I'm trying to figure you out. And I'm like, why are you trying to figure me out? And they're like, you're just like so much what you are on social media, like in person. And I'm like, you're
Mm,
kind of saying that as a bad thing? Like I'm really confused. Why would I not be? I don't know. And they're like,
right.
I don't know. I'm just like waiting for something else to pop out. And that's what I love about these podcasts because you can just like sit and talk to somebody and people can see that you're not these like formulated answers that you thought of beforehand kind of thing.
I wanna refer back to the conversation that you were having with Charlie earlier because what you just talked about reminded me of something that I really wanted to say. Um, so you kind of mentioned, like, there's this sort of, a character, if you will, like this character with a set kind of characteristic traits, personality traits, the emotions, the general emotions that somebody that disposition, that emotional disposition you're in. I think we have this also, like, as, like, a public person, if you will. We have this kind of almost expectation, not just for ourselves, but other people do that on us as well, where you're this person, this is your character, and this is your personality, and so
Yeah,
it feels off when you do something that's a little outside of that window of
right.
personality. So I think that's what was happening with the conversation you were having with Charlie the other day. Of course, it's not this like public thing, but even between friends, it's like, "Oh, this is not the usual you. This is not your bubbly self that you're
Yeah,
always in." But the I have the same problem as well, where I recently like got diagnosed with depression, and it's like it has almost been like this it catapulted me to reveal a side of myself that I've always hidden away from from other people, and just it just forced me. Depression has forced me to open up this side of myself that I never showed anybody. It's
Right.
scary because it's different. It's a different side of myself. It's almost
You
like a
feel
different person.
yeah.
And what I'm starting to learn from these experience of unveiling these other sides of myself is that I'd like to think that it's a sexy thing. I'm not saying that I'm sexy, of course,
Okay.
but I think so I think there's this like Japanese slang term called gap. They call it like gap,
Okay.
where it refers to like when somebody who is like very comical, very like bubbly, very like almost very exaggerated in character, usually just turns 100%, 180 degrees all of a sudden and becomes this like super
Yeah.
intelligent being who talks about things that he or she is passionate about, you know? And they call it gap, and it's like a positive thing, you know?
Okay.
It's this kind of notion of, "Oh, this person has this side, but they also have this side as well,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's deemed as something that's positive, you know?
That's great.
Showing something
Oh,
that's showing a side of ourselves that is like in contrast to one another. And it's funny because in like the Western society, that's like considered a taboo. It's like you're this person, so this is
yeah.
it. You know, you
Yeah.
can't if you're an intelligent, serious, pensive person, you cannot be comical. You cannot make jokes about whatever you want to make jokes about, you know?
Yeah.
And we feel guilty when we do that. We feel guilty when we like turn around and do something we feel we wanna show, like
Yeah.
is right for us in that very moment.
Yeah. People
Um,
are more archetypes, you know?
yeah, but I think when we actually do that, people appreciate it. You know, it's
Yeah.
just all in our minds, it's all in our heads.
Yeah.
So I think like coming back to you when you were being a little like quote unquote salty, it's a good thing, you know, it's a
Yeah.
surprise. It's a
Yeah.
surprise, but it's
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, spicy," you know, like it's
And
like,
that's what
"Oh,
like, oh, I love it. And I'm like, ah, I'm sorry, like I didn't mean to be. And I found myself wondering why I was apologizing for it.
don't." Exactly, don't apologize because that's the side of you that's like, "Hey, I think that's pretty cool." That's like, you know, you got that side of yourself. You got that spicy, like, you know, flame inside of yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, that's just my 2 cents. Is it 2 cents or 5 cents?
That's 2 cents, I think.
2 cents. I don't know,
I wonder why
it's a
that's a saying.
sorry?
I don't know. I said I wonder why that's a saying. We have a
Yeah. Why is
saying.
it 2 cents though? Like, why is it not 10 cents or 5 cents?
I mean, I'm sure it has to do with I have no clue.
Yeah,
Somebody
me
got
neither. I mean, I'm
let me
English
put
is
in
not
my
my
little
first.
2 cents.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents, and, you know, I think it's a sexy thing. It's a gap. You know, as and the more gaps we have, I think the sexier it is, the more interesting the person you become, I think.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it
I think so, yeah. So
a lot. You know, I have this acting class. I train at Zach Barnett Studios, and they do like acting for the whole self. So you have to like check in with your everything in your being, and
mm,
you have to like make sure you have to talk about and check in about things that are not acting related or industry or work in general related. Just so you know who you are and where you're at as a person.
sure.
And it's definitely growing up, I was never allowed not allowed to cry, but like it was very much like, okay, pull it together, you got this, like always kind of on a positive note. And I used to feel like it was a bad thing to be emotional, which is really interesting. I don't know if you're into zodiac signs or horoscope or whatever, but I'm like,
Virgo.
oh my gosh, I love it. I'm an Aquarius Pisces cusp with like
Mhm,
a Cancer, either rising or moon or something like that. Basically, in a nutshell, I am an extremely emotional human being. So
mhm.
like being that all locked up, and then like my teachers being like, you know, it's okay to be emotional in your real life. Like, that's
Yeah.
totally fine. And like having to unlock that, man, it's been such a roller coaster. But it's so cool because you have all these appreciations for all the different emotions, and I find myself crying all the time nowadays. And earlier I'd be like, oh, like why are you crying? Suck it up, Tori. But like now I'm like crying, and then I like get happy tears because I'm crying, and I'm like, oh, I just feel so good. It's the weirdest thing in the whole entire world.
That's so sweet. Oh, happy tears make me tear up. Like, honestly, it's so warm.
At
But
this point, all tears make me tear
I
up.
I'm genuinely so like like we just met, but I don't know why I'm like wanting to tear up now. But like I feel so proud when I see people like I when I see people opening up and like just become I think that that really is the definition of a strong person, not somebody who sucks up and hides the emotional side of themselves, but somebody who is willing to open up about that. And that's what I am starting to define strength, human strength as, not the
It's
opposite.
definitely sexy. It's definitely sexy.
Yeah. So I'm proud of you. I hope you cry more. You know, I hope you
Oh,
cry more and have more happy tears and sad tears too, but I hope the best.
well, we can cry together. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, we could. We could. Probably when I go to LA, we can cry together. That could be the first activity that we can do, just sob.
Yes, I'm all here for it. 100%. When are you coming to LA?
I don't know. I'm not vaccinated yet. Are
I got
you?
vaccinated. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
congrats.
thank you.
Congrats. I feel very inferior on a on a very objective level. I feel very inferior right now. I can't not wait to get vaccinated.
How's the
And
vaccination system going on in Korea?
it's coming a bit slow. Pretty
Mhm.
slow, actually, really slow. So it looks like it's gonna be a few months until I can get my first batch.
Oh, wow.
But hopefully sometime soon, maybe they'll just speed it up a little bit, and hopefully then I can go to LA and visit everybody that I've been talking to virtually. Just I can't wait.
I think it's the coolest thing that I've met so many people during this quarantine and, well, quarantine, I mean, COVID period. And they're like all around the world, and I've never met them in person.
Yeah,
Like, it's
it's
so
crazy.
cool to me. I don't know.
It's
Technology.
bizarre. It is uncanny that the people that you feel so close to, you've never met them.
And then the amount of social anxiety, like going out in public nowadays, I'm
Oh
like, oh
yeah. It's
my
like
god,
they can
I'm
finally see my pores.
literally, I'm like, you can
Yeah.
see my body, not just my face. Oh my god, I feel so
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
and like I can't control what angle you're looking at me.
I mean, it looks like it's great. You're doing great. You're hanging out with friends, you're hanging out with everybody. That's great. That's like a side that's a part of life that I have been missing out greatly on my end. So, I'm really happy that you're hanging out with a human being like in real life. So, that's
Me
great. That's
too.
good for you.
It's
It's
very nice.
healthy. It's healthy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Tori, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. This was really fun. It's such a great conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a lot of fun.
yeah, and I can't wait to come to LA and cry with you
Yes,
soon.
please, let's do it. Let's do it. Cry over coffee.
All good. I'll get myself ready like right before we meet.
Perfect.
Cool. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Bye bye.
Bye.